Okay,
better.
let's try that. Okay, yes.
Okay. Tell all of us where you've been for the last few days, and you just got back like
I
on
just
Sunday,
got
yeah?
back. I just
Okay.
got back on Sunday. I was in Cabo, Mexico for a friend's wedding, and it was lovely. Just a good excuse to go and take a couple days off for vacation and yeah, soak in some sun. I'm looking at myself and I feel like I don't look a lot more tan, but I totally got a sunburn on my back. So
Yeah,
that is my
usually
proof that I've been on vacation.
usually the face is like pretty shielded with like a sun hat or
Yeah,
SPF or
exactly.
sunglasses, Yeah, which
Yep.
is actually better because you don't want to be coming back looking like a panda.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So,
How was it?
yes,
Did you have a good time? Like, tell
it
what
was
was the highlight? Tell us the highlight of your trip.
oh my god, the
I mean,
highlight.
besides the
It
wedding,
was
but like
so nice.
personal
Like
highlight.
honestly, the we had churros. We had churros like three nights in
Girl.
a row, and that was lovely. Um, and just like the tacos, like so the food at the resort wasn't the best. I'm just gonna be honest. But when we went into town, the food was much better there. So just
Yeah.
getting to walk around, and we were doing like somewhere between like 15 to 20,000 steps every day, which is actually
Yes.
quite nice because then I get some exercise in while I'm pegging out on tacos. So yeah, nice little trip. Had a lot of fun. um and then I touched down for what, a couple of days, 2 days, and then I'm off to Toronto again tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's
So
crazy.
I know. Okay, little just sitter.
Yeah,
But you're there to take care of business, so more to come on that.
yes.
But it'll be fine. It'll be so much fun. You get to see your
Yeah.
family. It's gonna be great. I'm
Yes.
excited for you.
I'm excited too. Excited, nervous, tons of things. Just,
Oh,
you know, all the fun things. All the fun things.
eat
Yeah.
lots of ketchup chips.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to try to bring a bunch home. I'm
No,
always that
you're not.
person that has like puffed chips on the plane because they like blow up. And I have
Yeah.
like 4 bags because that's all I can carry. And it's like all
So
under my
good.
seat, blown up.
Okay,
That is
so
going to
remember
happen.
that one day I was at Safeway, at my local Safeway, and I took a picture, and I was like, Vicky, they have ketchup chips here.
I
And of
never found them.
course, well, okay, so it was like limited edition in the US because for those of you who are not familiar, ketchup chip flavor by Lay's is only available in Canada. It's like a Canada
Yes.
exclusive.
And it's my
And of
favorite
course,
flavor from
Vicky
Lay's.
turned me on to the ketchup chips, and I'm obsessed with it. And of course, I saw it at my local Safeway, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I have to get it!" But then, of course, my beef with the chips industry right now is everything. I don't know why. It's like going up with the gas prices or something. Like chips are so expensive
Ugh.
right now. I don't understand. Like the bag itself, volume has gotten smaller, and the price has gone up. Like, tell
Yes.
me I'm
We're
crazy,
paying
right?
more for air. Yes,
Right. And
absolutely.
so like typically like okay, if you've been listening to us, if you've been following us for a while, we love a good chip. And so, but then I'm also kind of
Yes.
like against my moral to pay full price for chips because I'm like, okay, I'll buy chips when it's on sale, right?
When
And so of
full price
course
is
like
$6.99, like I can't blame you,
no,
okay?
I
Like
can't,
5 or $6.99. That's crazy.
Right. And so I buy the chips like that currently has a deal going on, right? And so when I
Yes.
saw the ketchup chips, it was not on sale, of course, because it's limited edition. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy the bullet. I'm just going to buy it, right?
Yeah.
And of course, I get up to pay, and then something was like, I forgot what happened, but I think it was like there was a confusing sign where like I thought it was part of a deal, and then it wasn't part of a deal, and I was just like, you know what? No, I don't want to pay full price for this. And then so I
Mhm.
abandoned the chips at the
Ah!
checkout counter.
I totally
And
would pay a premium sometimes to just like to satisfy that craving because I
I know.
swear sometimes I'm like I could use a really good bag of ketchup chips right now.
I
Yeah.
know. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to come back for this. I don't have time for this right now. I can't. And so
Was
I
it
abandoned
gone
chip.
by the
And
time
I
you
didn't end up going
saw it
back.
next?
I guess I didn't
Yeah.
want it that bad because I was just
Yeah.
like, you know what? This is too much.
That's actually a good thing because too many chips
Calories.
aren't that good for you. That's one of my many weaknesses too. And yeah. You're not losing out. You're not losing out. Don't worry. When I come back,
Fine.
that's what I'm going to be bringing.
No, I don't want you to carry chips back. Carry it back for yourself. Don't carry it back for somebody else. It's too much. Um okay, so I'm glad to hear that you had a great time. So, first time to Mexico, um
Like
sounds
my
like a
second or
positive
third time.
experience. Oh,
I've
sorry.
been on a cruise once, and then I've been on
Yeah.
another vacation once, but it was like I was a lot younger, a lot more, it was a lot briefer, I didn't get to explore, didn't get to go outside because we were super scared as like, noob travelers. So this was the first time where I was like, no, I'm going to town. And we saw some crazy things, but that's part of the experience.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'm so happy you guys did that. Wait, were you guys able to walk to town from your resort, or did you
Yep.
guys have to take
It
a
was
car?
only
Okay.
10 minutes, 10-15 minutes. So it was lovely. Oh, and another thing that we did. So one of my friends, I think I texted you this. One of my friends had booked a dinner with her husband and the boys, because this was a
Oh
wedding. The
no.
boys decided that
Vicky
they
is
were going to
frozen
go on a
again.
yacht.
Wait,
Ah,
Vicky, you like froze for a sec.
am I
Um,
back now?
now you're back.
Okay. Okay. Let's try
Okay.
to push through then.
Do we want to keep
Okay.
pushing
So
through, or do we want to, like, is it going to give us an issue where we record 40 minutes and then it's just like not going to work out? Like, that's what I'm worried about. Because
I
I don't
have
want
no
you to,
idea.
like, us to waste our effort, you know?
Yes.
Um, oh,
I I don't
that's so
know, because
strange.
I feel
Why?
like
Yeah.
this software is like it's like great, but then I don't know what the exact problem is. Like I
I
can't pinpoint
know.
what I can do to
And then
fix
you
things.
switch like laptops. So
Yes, I switched
why
laptops.
was it?
My internet, it like I literally put a router in my studio so
Mm,
that there would be no internet issues. Um all these cables and stuff are
I-
fixed. Like this is so. Am I still
it's just one of
freezing?
those days, you know?
It's been one of those days for the past 3 weeks.
Mm,
Girl,
mm,
girl.
mm.
Is it
Okay.
freezing for you?
Uh it like it froze for a second and then like maybe like for like 15 seconds and I was like, "Oh no, did I lose you again?" And then now you're okay.
Okay.
But okay, if it happens again then maybe we'll consider stopping. How's that?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
You let me
Okay.
know because it seems pretty smooth on my end.
Okay.
I see you. I see me. We're still we're still rolling. We're still
Okay.
rolling.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
So
okay, tell
if
me.
this is going to be the episode and you are listening to this, please, please, please just like cut us some slack. We're trying our best with new software,
Yeah.
recording remotely. I've had a few questions about this actually when our last episode went out, and it's just like a combination of like technology and also software, because we're trying to record in two different places and then have them synced into one podcast, so, and both of us are technology grandmas, so we
Yeah. I
I'm
mean, honestly,
speaking for
like I think the
myself.
last episode came out pretty good. I was like
Yeah.
happy with it. I think we just have to edit this part out. It's fine. So like we can just
Okay.
like cut out this part with so yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds
So
good.
tell us
Yeah.
about what happened.
Yeah, nothing much. Just I lucked out and was able to go to a farm to table
Oh, yeah.
experience in Mexico, which was so good because I was tired. One, tired of the resort food, and two, all the guys actually went on a yacht instead, and they were drinking a lot. And that's not really
Did
my
they went
jam.
on a
I would
booze
rather good food.
cruise?
Yes, they went on a booze cruise, and
Hilarious.
then went bar hopping afterwards. So I
Yeah.
was extremely excited that I got to eat good food instead, and I'd take that any day. So, yeah.
So would you say like the farm to table experience is similar to kind of what we have here? Like were you like what was the setting like? Were you in a restaurant? Were you actually like on a farm? Like what was it like?
So it's so strange, and this is all part of traveling, and like so many, like it's a little bit of my beef with going to resorts in I guess more remote places, because you'll have the resort, it's all decked out, and it's this like facade of, oh my god, everything is like so luxurious and so relaxing, and then you step out and you're like, oh well, there's dirt roads everywhere. You know, you're in the middle of nowhere. There's garbage everywhere. There are like little shacks outside, and people aren't exactly living like where you're living. So it's a bit of that situation. The farm to table restaurant is on a plot of land where we had to go on some dirt roads to get to, and then it's just like there's a farm in the back, and in the front it's like not an indoor restaurant where we were seated. It's kind of like an indoor outdoor situation. So we were kind of outside, you know, fairy lights and very very moody, very romantic kind of looking place. But definitely more of an upscale experience compared to the rest of town and the surrounding area, you know?
Yeah, so it
Yeah.
sounds like so it's definitely designed for um like no, I don't know if tourist is the word, but like for visitors from out
Tourists,
of town
and you could
tourists. Yeah,
tell,
out of town
yeah, you could
guests.
tell the clientele, you know, was not really reflective of people that necessarily lived there, you know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that. But, you know, again, when you go on vacation, you kind of know what you're expecting what you're doing, and so it's just one of those experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like reality versus Instagram, maybe a little bit.
Yes, a little bit. Yes,
Yeah.
for
Okay.
sure.
But
Yeah,
it was enjoyable overall.
it was enjoyable, and I'm just really glad that I get a chance to like not do any work. I had limited data on that trip, so I literally did no work, and yeah, just to take a break from everything, and that was super nice. But
Yeah, I'm glad you got
yeah,
to do that. I feel like
yeah,
sometimes like we do need to be forced to kind of step away. And then maybe, you
yes,
know, that's it's always nice to be able to find like new inspiration and new energy like in a different place. And then
mm-hmm.
hopefully you're coming back a little refreshed.
Yes, totally. And
Yeah. Good.
that's just it. Like just breaking up the routine a little bit. And
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even have a routine these days. The past couple of months have been everywhere. But it's okay. It feels good. It feels good to have gone on that trip. But
Yeah.
tell me about your recent trip,
Okay.
because I feel like
What do you mean? Where'd I go?
your experience. You went to Vegas. You went to Vegas. Tell us a little bit about
Oh,
that.
yeah, I went to outside of Vegas. So,
You
I
and your
went
like
to
casual day
see.
trip.
Oh my gosh, it was so treacherous. So I went to CJ Hendry's art exhibit outside of. It's like an hour outside of Vegas, in this little town called Sandy Valley. And it's also in the middle of nowhere. And so I luckily was able to loop a good friend of mine to go to the exhibit with me, and he lives in LA. And so I flew down to LA, and then we drove, took a little road trip from LA to Sandy Valley. So it's about like 4 hour drive, no traffic. and
That's
and so
crazy. And it was
yeah,
a day trip. Did you stay overnight or
we
no?
did not. We drove there
So
and drove
4
back.
hours there and then 4 hours back.
Yes. And
Crazy.
but it was wild because just getting there, we had to like there was like a winter storm warning, um and like there were like snow in the forecast. We're like, oh my gosh, are we gonna be able to make it? Because we have to drive through this pass to get down to the valley. And then sure enough, like as we're driving there, we experienced the four seasons. We experienced like beautiful bright sun to rain, like hard rain, sleet, and snow, like all within the 4 hours,
Man.
right? And then of course, like
Wow.
he's in like a lower hatchback car, and then we like the direction was taking us onto this dirt road that was just like super treacherous. And like 2 miles on that dirt road, we're like, you know, this is not a good idea. We should try to find an alternative route because we
You're
have to go
off-roading
15
as
miles
well.
on this. It's not going to work out like for all of us. And so
Wow.
like we turn around and went like an hour around the range so we can like take like a real road to get there. But it was just, and when we finally got there, we're like, okay, we're here. Like we're safe. Like we almost like decided to turn around at some point when it started snowing really hard because we're like, you
Wow.
know, my friend's Australian. He's like, I am not made for the snow. You know, this is not what I'm used to. And I'm like, listen, I support you, even though we're out here. If you don't feel comfortable, like we can turn around, you know?
Yep.
And,
Yep.
but we like braved through it and we made it, and it was fine. Um,
Wow.
and
What a
then
journey.
Yeah, and then so, like, the show was from, like, it opened on Friday, and then it was running through Sunday, and then we got there, like, we made plans to go on Friday because we just knew that, like, it was better, like, we're thinking in our head, it's, like, less crowded because it's not on the weekend, and
Yeah.
then
And Friday is the first day of the exhibit.
yeah,
Okay.
and I think, but then, like, going there, like, I had already been, like, looking at her Instagram the whole time, so, like, I saw sort of, like, her whole setup process, battling with the element. I think we talked about this in the last episode and how, like,
Yep.
everything went wrong, and then so we got there, and again, like, I felt so bad because, like, she had these, like, beautiful custom umbrella made, like, sunbrellas, like, made to match sort of this, like, floral, theme that she has going for her exhibit, like, these, like,
Yep.
floral inflatables. And then, of course, like, all the umbrellas were, like, closed and, like, laid on their side because it was just so much wind and dust, um and then all the, like, lounge chairs were just kind of, like, wonky, and then,
Yep.
so it was just, like, wasn't I felt bad for her because I know, like, at some point, you just can't fight nature anymore, you just kinda
Yes.
gotta go with it, and but then because of that, like, I know, like, this was probably not the experience that she wanted to provide to her, like, exhibit
Yep.
goers, and so I felt
So
for
this
her.
is like CJ Hendry's public pool exhibit, right? So
Correct.
she had like basically built a swimming pool in the middle of the
Huge
desert,
pool, yeah.
huge gigantic pool, and then she had these like, so the umbrellas that you were talking about, lounge chairs. Did she have lounge chairs? I can't
She had
remember.
lounge chairs
Lounge
made.
chairs, and
Yep.
then she had these like floaties that were in the shape of the flowers in
Mhm.
the pool. So she had this like giant white swimming pool that was huge. They like rolled it out, and obviously in her Instagram videos, the first thing I noticed, because I'm so OCD, is like there's like dirt in there or sand,
Dirt
So they were like
everywhere, I
trying to
know.
sweep that out, and like I'm
Yeah,
sure
they
more sand just got in.
yeah, they, like, there was sandstorms, while they were setting it
Oh
up, and then they tried to
no.
clean, but you can't cover the whole pool. It was huge, and so at
Yep.
some point, they were like, "We tried. This is the best we can do,"
Yeah.
And, I mean,
That's
I
interesting to
think,
see too, though. Like I have an appreciation for like something like that where you kind of don't see that everything's perfect, because sometimes
Mhm.
when everything's perfect, you don't actually get to appreciate how much went into it. But when everything goes wrong, you're like, well, yes, it didn't quite go the way that she planned it, but you kind of appreciate just how hard, and how much effort went into setting something up like that. I'm sure she's never going to do anything outdoors anymore, but you
Yeah.
know, yeah.
Vicky, do we need to look at ourselves in the mirror? Okay.
Always,
Okay. Um,
always.
as you were saying that, I was like, "Where's my mirror? I'm gonna." Yeah. Um, but yeah, no, totally. And yeah, she's on. I think one of her stories. She says she's never ever going to do an outdoor exhibit ever again, because she can't control the nature.
Yikes.
Nature.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but it was great. We got to see it in person, and I think in person it was just being able to see sort of like at the scale that she produced these art at, and being able to see her. So usually at these, like, big art exhibitions, like, it's not only like experiential, you get to, like, see and touch everything and it's free, but then she
Oh
also puts
yeah,
up
it
like
was
an
free.
exhibit of her, like, work, like her
Yeah.
color pencil work.
I was
um
quite surprised when you told me that her entire exhibit was free. So
mhm.
you just had to go. Did you have
You
to
just have to get there.
RSVP? Do you have to
Mm-mm.
RSVP before?
No.
Oh, okay. So you can just show up to
Yep.
this thing in the middle of the desert, and you get to experience everything for free. Like you get to go and see everything, touch
Yep.
everything for free.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Because normally people charge for these types of things. Like I mean, even if you go to the museum, for example, like they charge an entrance fee. So I'm quite surprised that everything was free. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really love that. And I think this is the first. I didn't realize this before, but I learned, after the fact, that this was the first exhibit where she actually sold merchandise in person. In her
Merch
past
as in like
exhibits,
t-shirts and hats,
yeah,
right?
she did. Yeah, so she did, like, towels. Again, everything is very themed to, like, a pool, right? The public pool exhibit. So she
It's
did
such a cool
beach
concept. Yeah.
towels. She did like slippers. She did a hat. She did a t-shirt.
Yep.
What else? She has sunscreen, like
Oh,
branded
that's so
sunscreen
fun.
with public pool. It's so
Yeah.
cute.
I love
Yeah,
that.
so everything was like very well thought out.
Everything
Um,
is so thought out. Even the
yeah,
invitation that she had sent out, was like really well thought.
so
It's like
cute.
CJ Hedry is literally like our dream. Like I want to grow up to just be able to do this. Like have unlimited money to just be able to be like, "Oh, idea, let's do it." Like, oh, like this is possible. Well, wait, this sounds so cool. Let's make this into a thing, That's from the outside. That's what it sounds like and looks like.
Yeah, so but I mean I can't even imagine like how like from her past exhibits I know have, range anywhere from like I mean they're like average like $500,000 to produce. I mean this one I am
Mhm.
sure of it, because of like all the help that she had to bring in.
Oh, for sure.
And it's wild, but I love it because I think she makes it more accessible to people who can't actually
I
afford
really
her
like
real
that.
original art to still be a part of
Mhm.
her world, and I love that about her. So
Yep,
yeah, it was great.
totally. I
Yeah.
totally was trying to buy one of those flower things I told you about, but they
Mm-hmm.
sold out so quickly. And I was like,
Yeah, you
"Oh,
have to
okay."
be. It's like a
Yeah.
sneaker drop, but it's like
Mhm.
even harder to get than a sneaker drop.
Yeah. But it's fun. It's like, being able to like follow along with like a journey of someone and appreciate the ideas. Like I like that kind of art. I don't really like oh, this is like super hype, so I'm going to go and buy it because somebody told me it was, right? So like her stuff I kind of relate slightly more to than some of the other
Yeah.
things out there.
But
But
okay, it's
yeah.
interesting you say that because part of me also feel like, and I'm not saying this in like a negative way or to paint like yeah, and like not great picture, but like in some ways her art can kind of define as a little hype, don't you think?
It is. I mean, she totally has like drawings of things that like her colored pencil drawings are of things that are hype, and she did a lot of
Yeah.
like luxury brands and things like that.
Yeah.
So I guess you're right in that case. However, for some reason, it's just slightly more relatable. It's more accessible to someone like me than
Yeah.
just like the crazy hype stuff, It's not as
Yeah.
hardcore. I feel like maybe it's because of the theme or the colors that she uses. It's like a lot happier and lighter. Maybe that's why I
Is it
think.
accessible or is it more relatable to you,
Yeah,
right? Because
definitely more
you
relatable. Yeah.
yeah, you take a brush to paint to a canvas, and
Mm-hmm.
so like it's easier for you as an artist to relate to her process
Yeah.
and her
And I
results.
love that. Like the themes of her artwork tend to be things that even though I'm not in the same realm that she is, I can appreciate as an artist. So like she's done like paint drips and stuff, like, just used colored pencils to emulate what paint would look like. And I'm like, that's super cool, because it's a different medium, but it looks like paint. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Totally. Actually,
Hmm.
this is a great segue into our topic today because our
Yes.
topic today is to like we were supposed to both come to the table with two artists or creators that we admire and just kind of share that with each other and with our listeners, and maybe some things that we feel like we can emulate in our business.
Yep.
Um, and so CJ Hendry is actually one of the artists that I want to talk about, because I think just from what I just talked about now, from her public pool exhibit, um, what I really love about her besides like her art, right? So again, like she's for those who doesn't really know aren't familiar with her, she is an Australian artist based out in Brooklyn, New York, and she's built this like contemporary fine art business um, from doing these hyper realistic art out of color pencils. Well, she actually started her career like doing black and white, like using ink pens only and doing these hyper realistic drawings. And then she slowly transitioned into like just doing color pencils. And if you haven't seen her work, you got to check it out. Is incredible. They look photorealistic. It just, somebody did that with color pencil. Like the way that she sees and the way she translates what she sees onto paper is just incredible.
It's so interesting. Okay, this brings me back to our previous conversation about being an artist briefly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how if we're introducing someone, right? CJ Henry, for example, that's how we describe her. Like, oh, she's an artist that creates hyper realistic artwork using colored pencils. But you literally just went to an exhibit where that wasn't her focus, Like the cool thing I think about CJ Henry is she's evolved into an artist that's not just defined by her paintings, right? She's like she's made a lot of artwork with different types of medium that are like completely different from what she does. She's still doing what she does, right? But she's just expanded so much. And I think that that's inspiring because that's often what I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like we don't want to put ourselves in a box and we're like, okay, yes, we do this thing right now. We work on sneakers, we do this specific thing on sneakers, but really our passion is to just create art as it comes, and if it's in another form, then that's totally okay. And we have that issue with like defining ourselves and feeling like, oh, is this like too far out of what my niche that I've built is? But that's something that I'm totally like passionate about right now, and that's the type of artwork that I want to create right now. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think what's great about her artwork is that it's still like, even all the experiential art exhibit that she does that center around her artwork, her drawings, to your point, like it doesn't feel like a reach because it just feels like it's an extension of her drawings because
Mm-hmm.
it's very themed and hyper focused on that theme. And I think it's easier to feel like it's cohesive and everything is related because it's tied to that theme.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that she does really well that I think like would be great to emulate, for all of us,
Absolutely.
because I think, again, to your point, like we all feel like we have to be everything to everybody else when we should just like really hyper focus on that one thing. And what I really like about her too is that she, like her original drawings, based on my knowledge, is like the public, like the drawings, the original drawings that she releases to the public, right? So we're not talking about like commission work, that like one-offs that she does, but like the original drawings that she releases like through these art exhibits that she creates. They are typically around like $19,000 for like an original art, right? And but then what's great about her is that like she creates sort of like buckets of, to make it more accessible to more people, right? Because most people probably can afford $19,000 original artwork, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then that's probably like, okay, so if we're talking about like good, better, best bucket, that would belong in like the best bucket, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then she, in this most recent exhibit, so like the best are like the $19,000 drawings of like floaties, right, for the pool.
Mm-hmm.
And then her better category, are these like beautiful, are they bronze or are they ceramic, of these like sculpture of
It's like
these
mixed. I think there was
floral,
some enamel in it or something.
in, well, it, yeah,
It
so
was
like
like
the surface
colored
is
in
cover,
enamel.
like it's
Yeah.
enamel, but I don't know what the base material
I
is.
don't know
But
what
I
it
know
is.
she previously have used bronze before, to create her art, but maybe this is not bronze, maybe this is just ceramic. But basically it's like a sculpture that's framed, maybe, I don't know, 10 by 10, 12 by 12, that looks like a floral inflatable that ties back to that, the flower floaties that she created for her pool.
Mm-hmm.
um and those are like anywhere, I think we talked about this last time, it ranges anywhere from like $600 to $1,200 each.
Mm-hmm.
And then she has the merge, which is the good category, right? That ranges, I think her towels were like $80, sunscreens maybe like I think $30 or $50, and then she has t-shirts, she has slides. So again, like she created this like good, better, best, um
Mm-hmm.
and three different buckets. So if you really wanted to collect one of her art pieces, like you can kind of decide like, okay, based on my budget, what can I actually afford? But and I can still play in her world without like spending $19,000, right? So I
Yeah.
love sort of that aspect of her business, and um I think this is where like we can all like take away from sort of like how she has monetized her art, because
Mm-hmm.
we're often so just stuck on this is the shoe that we create, but we're not really thinking about what else can we create from this shoe that we created, that ties back to this shoe. So yeah, so I mean it's
Absolutely.
like definitely very inspiring for me, and I've been thinking a lot about how I can use that business model for myself.
Mm-hmm. Expand that. And yeah, that's definitely a pain point for me. And again, I think like you've put it in a way that's like, oh, she's made her artwork very accessible. For me, the first thing I'm thinking is like, that is a good business practice, that is a good business idea, and she's a businesswoman at the end of the day, because you do want to create that pyramid. The super exclusive stuff is at the top. Only less than 1%, 0.001% of people will be able to own something like that because it's very expensive, and that is the original artwork. But then you also want to kind of like create things down the pyramid that is more accessible and more affordable, but in the end it helps to generate more income for you from just like one single thing. And like her business model is great because like she can draw something once, sell that piece for super expensive, and then that can be made into prints, that can be put on t-shirts, that can be, just like mass produced in other ways. And also, that means a lot of that work that goes into it can be passed off to someone else, like, so the main artist, she probably didn't have a huge part to play in everything else other than overseeing it being mass produced, but she made the original artwork and she came up with the original concept, so that
Mm-hmm.
you're able to like expand your operation and just make like an exhibit that's like much bigger. Because for me, I personally suffer from like not having enough hands on just to be able to execute an idea, but if you can think in that way, then it's a lot easier to get help and make things a lot more elaborate and have a lot more of it, so that, because a lot of times people will be like, oh, I want 20 pairs of shoes. I'm like, that will take me quite a long time on my own, but there's a way to expand and create more, you know
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, what about you? Like, who's your artist that you are inspired by?
So I've already told you about this before, but I'm gonna start with Viv Zoo at Viv Zoo. She's on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and her videos pop up. She is a nail artist.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said this as well before. Yes, we do a lot of things in the sneaker realm. I don't really consume content in the sneaker realm. I kind
Mm-hmm.
of prefer to just let ideas come out of my head without being influenced by it. So I'm not really in touch with that. But a lot of the other industries, I'm like, oh yeah, that's great. Like, how does that translate to a sneaker? How can I be inspired by this and do something like that? And so she is a nail artist. When I first found her, I think it was like a viral video about Beyonce, like that had like a Beyonce theme, and it would like change colors. She has glow in the dark nails. She has nails with like that have a door on it or a
My
window.
gosh,
She
that's
has
amazing.
ones that are like snow globes, so when you like tilt your nails, the glitter inside starts moving. Like,
That's so cool.
so much innovation in something as simple as nails that almost opened my eyes up to being like, okay, well, it doesn't matter what your canvas is. You can really come up with new ideas, even though they're still playing off of old ideas, So she's done a lot of, like, for example, Disney, which is where I relate to her, because my start back in the day was in Disney, and I used to do a lot more, cartoon, anime, a lot more like copyrighted things too. But like, how do you still make that your own? How do you still like stand out in the crowd because of your craft and your artwork, versus just like taking that from something that already exists, like a trademarked theme? So she's totally like just flip my head around about how I can approach what I do.
Yeah. Do we know like what's her price point for?
It's like super reasonable and like so low. Babe, it's probably like in the couple of $100 range. And she does, again, she does simpler nails, so she'll have like, I think she's released a couple nail kits where it's just like some simple themed nails, and she can do most of that. She has a helper that helps her do that. And then
So they're
she
press-ons.
markets, yes, they're press on
Okay.
nails, so you can just order them in sets. And she also does she does the more complex ones as videos. And it's
For
just
content.
for content,
Okay.
but it's crazy. Like when I used to do a lot of characters on a shoe, I used to say that like one character would probably take me an hour to 2 hours to paint per character. And I used to charge that way too. But when you see like the scale at which she does it, the number of characters, and like the complexity of the designs that she does, and all of this is like in nail polish, I'm like, what the heck? Like it blows my mind. And it's probably under $1,000 to get a set of nails, which is crazy, which is absolutely insane.
Okay. So then it leads me to wonder like who is
Also, the
buying a
bottom
set
of
of
the nails
thousand
are,
dollar nails,
yeah.
right?
I mean, I'm sure celebrities do, but like I was saying, underneath the nail is painted as well. Like it's not just on top. They're so just so detailed. It's crazy. But I think she's done some nails for celebrities for sure.
Yeah.
But
So I mean, okay. I mean, so it sounds like she is CJ Hendry adjacent, but just in the nail
mhm.
industry.
Mhm.
Nail. Um, just one. Um,
Just one. I can afford
um,
just one of your
I can
nails.
just afford one.
Yeah.
Um,
Just make me a really long pinky one and I'll just
yeah.
wear that.
I mean, it sounds like okay. So I think like based on what we just talked about with CJ Hendry and her Vivian, right? Um, it sounds like they both have sort of this the best bucket, which is like the more higher end like stuff that they do for Beyonce. Like CJ Hendry has a
Yes.
lot of private like A-list clients, who she
Yes.
doesn't disclose.
Yep.
But these are like more than $19,000 of her original art. These are like, $300,000, $400,000 art, right?
Yes. Like
So
what is the price that I need to drop everything that I'm currently doing to make something exclusive for you? It's that kind of FU
yeah,
price, if you will. Yep.
exactly. And so it sounds like they have this like, A-list top end client. But then they've also created again, like if she has more simpler designs that you and I can buy that are, I mean, it's still too much than like it's out of my budget to even spend a couple $100 on press on set. But
Mhm.
but in my mind, it's like, okay, if this was for like a special occasion, if like for example, like if I'm getting married and I want like a
Yes.
really set of really unique wedding press on nails for photos and for the day, I would probably spend $1,000, right? And so
Yep.
I think it, I think like the theme here is we have to create different buckets to cater to different consumers, and
Mhm.
I think I've discussed this with you before, Vicky. Like, I personally have a really hard time with that because I think I've always been that person who's always talked about not being everything to everyone.
Mhm.
And I have to like really focus my work and my offerings to the group of clientele that I want to cater to and service. But again, like, if I'm being honest with myself and if I really want to be able to create and make consistent income for myself, and as a business, then I really need to consider how I can diversify as far as like my offerings to these three buckets that we talked about, like good, better,
Mhm.
best. Um, and I
It's
think these
interesting.
artists have really demonstrated that like really well.
What's interesting to me is even just us being on social media is kind of like us creating that accessibility, that extra bucket, right? Because there's always that old, like, we could definitely be old school. We could have a little store, little boutique somewhere, and only the highest end of clients would come in and purchase something or get something custom made, like tailor made to them. And that's one way of doing business. But nowadays with social media, it's like, no, we want to get out to the masses. So we're creating content, whether it's paid, whether it's free, whether, whatever it is free for them to consume, right? As somebody who just scrolls Instagram or whatever. And we're actually dedicating a lot of time in creating that type of content so that a lot of people, get to know like a piece of the process behind what we're making and all of that stuff. So if we think of that, then that is like the very bottom of our pyramid, right? So we have the bottom covered and we have the top covered. It's just like everything that's in between that we have to fill out. Like, what can we do that makes it so we're more accessible? We are catering to more people. And it really does suck because I do get a lot of DMs in my inbox that are like, how can I get a pair of sneakers made from you, or how can I get this design? And every time a design is released, there's a minimum cost, right, for us to produce something like that, because it's fully our time dedicated to making it, and we can't charge below minimum wage, otherwise we're not going to be able to do this. So like, what's the in between that we can do to fill in those buckets?
Yeah, that's the question that all of us, I mean, not just you and me, but a lot of our
Mm-hmm.
peers have in this industry. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, and definitely a lot of the more successful people, because like, you might be thinking, oh, I don't want to sell something for $1, but if you're able to get 100 people to buy something for $1, that's $100, or like, yeah. So like, if I can do a shoe for $1,000 instead, but I can sell 1,000 of these little things more easily, I get across to more people, and it's the same thing. So just being able to balance that in our own businesses is something that definitely you and I are both thinking about now.
yeah, and I think
Yeah.
for me, it's like the added challenge for me is I don't want to produce, I'm sorry for a lack of better word, I don't want to produce crap. I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to just put out crap for the sake of putting out something.
Yep,
And
I agree.
it's
Like,
just
I don't
one
want
waste
a
of effort,
t-shirt.
waste of right,
I'm
and like,
totally wearing a t-shirt with my brand name on it, but I don't want to be like, that's not the merch that I aspire to put out. I don't want to be like, here, buy a t-shirt with Silavic over it, because I don't think that people care that much, or like, that's not the message that I need to be putting out to the world. It's got to be something that I'm also excited about.
listen, unless you're Vandy the Pink, like nobody's gonna buy. We're gonna get canceled, but
And the truth comes out.
but you know what I mean. Like it's like until you get to like even like I'm trying to think who else like fear of God.
Mm-hmm.
People will buy a T-shirt that says fear of God.
I mean,
I
people
mean
buy
it's
stuff
cool,
with
but like
Supreme all over
right,
it. Like,
but you know what I mean. Like
yeah.
there's I don't want to justify that it's okay, but it's just again, it's not what I want to do personally, and
Yes.
I think um they can capitalize on that because they're who they are and they're just so iconic and like
Yep.
I'm all for it. But
They've built up their brand, and again, we can't sit here hating on people. They're out there making money from it, and we're just here like, yeah, pooping on their party. But again, everyone for themselves, but that's not our goal. That's not what makes us happy. So, whatever we do, again, at the end of the day, just stay true to yourself.
yeah, for sure. And I just want my like whatever my product is to be like thoughtful, because
Mm-hmm.
if my high-end product is super thoughtful, there's no reason why, again, like we talked about this, like how you do one thing is how you do everything. Like if my high-end product is going to be super thoughtful, there's no reason why my better or good bucket product can't be as thoughtful. um
Absolutely.
yeah, so I think it's just figuring out what that is and go from there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
But
well, who's your second person?
We
that
are
you
running
wanna
out of time,
introduce us to?
girl.
Oh my god, we only got
Yeah.
one each. Okay, well
That's fine.
drop a shout out so that we can just go and follow that person. How's that? We won't elaborate and go off topic.
Yeah. My second person is this he's actually in the food and beverage business. His name is Will Guidara. He wrote a book last year called Unreasonable Hospitality, and basically the story about how he took ordinary restaurant and turned into the number one restaurant in the world in a matter of 14 years. And it's just like really interesting and super inspiring because, like in that book, he talked about, people managing people and running a team, and like confronting his own insecurities about being OCD and a perfectionist, but then how that then took him, to where he wanted to be. So highly recommend to everyone. So I learned so much from that book. So
What's the book called again?
it's called Unreasonable Hospitality.
Unreasonable Hospitality. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Gotta go check that out. Okay. My second person that I'm just gonna throw in there is an account that's actually quite new, but I've realized I quite appreciate her stuff, and her handle is _ she ties flies _ she makes these lures for fishing, but she makes them from scratch. So it's just like, she combines like ASMR with very like macro filming of her, because it's tiny. It's like on a fish hook, right? But she makes like crabs, she makes flies, obviously she makes like fish, like so many things out of like you get to see it being made. So it's like the string that she uses, all that stuff, and it's all ASMR. It's all super soothing, very high quality, very well made content. I dig that stuff. So if you're interested, go and check her out.
Yeah, amazing.
Totally random, but inspiring in terms of color, material use, and video production. Yeah.
That sounds amazing. I'm totally going to check her out.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
okay. That was a little quick one, little hiccups at the front, but I think
good.
nothing else turned up. Yes. So, okay, I did want to mention one thing. I got some messages last time we uploaded about how it was really hard to find our podcast because people weren't able, like, even when they're in the search bar, our podcast doesn't come up. So I wrote a note
because there's like another
say,
BFF podcast
out
there.
Yeah. Even on YouTube, there's an Apple Plus show that's called Best Foot Forward. So when you type Best Foot Forward in, it's really hard to find. So I think the trick that I found in locating myself, like ourselves, on these platforms is just type one of our names, whether it's like Ann Duskus or Vicky Vuong, and then our logo should come up, and it should be a lot easier for you to track down our podcast and listen. But if you're already listening, you already know where to find us. But anyways, I thought I would just
we'll have to plug that in a story or something.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. If you like this podcast, please give us a rating. It really helps other people find this podcast.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so
much. Until next time.
Okay.
Bye.